Uh, howdy, folks. Long story. Season one, season one, episode 24. Somebody just pooted. Season one. I'm kidding. It wasn't my wife. That's for dang sure.
Thanks, hon.
This is my wife, Karen. As you can see, we both need therapy. Season one, episode 24. Scrolling with Charlie and Pookie.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to go ahead and start with roll call because we actually have more than one person on the panel today. Our lovely co-host Russ Clarity is on the Brian
Gidney's show.
Is on Brian Gidney. Thank you. On Brian Gidney's show, Summers. Hi, I can see myself twice. Cool. Summers Woodworking show.
What?
What?
The song.
Okay, so if you, sorry, I got distracted by something. So if you are only here to see Russ Clarity, then go watch the Summers Woodworking show. But we would love for you to stay here because we love you. Yes, we do. But we have 0 viewers right now, so it's not like I'm embarrassing myself. Yes, I am because it's on tape or digital crap. Shut up, Charlie, and do the show. Good God on a stick, woman. I don't know why she puts up with me. By God. Okay, we're going to do roll call for all these people that pretend they like me. By God, we're going to start left to right. We have Edgar Natras out of Nevada.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Wherever you are.
Wherever you may be.
I'm Edgar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. You want to, elaborate a little bit?
I know the drill.
He takes your show as seriously as I do, by God.
I'm trying to take it seriously.
Well, it's not easy, I understand.
I have been woodworking for over 30 years. That's it.
And he's in Nevada. He has a YouTube channel.
It's a small YouTube channel. It's really not worth looking up.
Yeah.
It's only got 3 videos on it.
He's the next big thing, but people are saying, well, dude, I really want to go check out your channel, all right?
Okay, it's under Edgar Natras and is a Nelly, ATTRESS. Got a few videos on there if you want to check them out. I also have a website called uncleed.weebly.com. I can post that in the comments after the show's over.
10-4. And he also he's planning some bigger and better things for his YouTube. We were been talking about it. I think he thought it was a good idea at the time, but I won't reveal anything because I don't know yet. We can move on over to Mr. Santa Claus is no longer upside down. Mr. John Schaffner out of New York.
I'm not sure I even have audio, do I?
Yes, sir, you do.
Wow.
Yeah, audio, and you're not upside down, all in the same day.
Well, I'm on an alternative computer. I back up my computer crapped out on me, so I gotta use my honey's computer.
Well, thank you, honey.
But I made it here.
Yay. I'd fire whoever's been working on your computer, but you want to tell everybody about you?
Yeah. Frustrated John Schaffner right here. Kenosha, New York, which is right outside of Syracuse. Been scrolling for 30+ years or so, and I don't have any YouTube or anything like that ads yet, but you can find me on Facebook under my name, John Schaffner, and glad to be here.
Much obliged for having you, sir. Mr. Haven't seen you in a while, Mark Sherman, and I'll come back over to you, Chris, because I just saw you pop in. Mark Sherman, how you been, baby?
I've been busy.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, I haven't had a whole lot of time to do any scrolling in a while. But hi, my name is Mark Sherman. I got a Facebook page of Sherman Scrollworks. So please look me up. You can find me on Mark Sherman on Facebook also. If you just want to be my friend and not just a woodworking admirer. I've been scrolling for a number of years, probably since the early 90s, mostly on and off, since I was in the Air Force, and now I'm back on again in between jobs, so whenever I can find the time and energy to get out in the garage, I'm out there. So I scroll with a Excalibur 30-inch saw, 30 inches from the blade to the back. love the saw, but geez, I wish I had more time to go out there and use it. So
I know all this thing, making a living and supporting, paying bills. I mean, isn't that crap?
yeah, it's much crap. So I do trim carpentry as a full time. I think I'm a trim carpenter. I don't know. Or the holiday press, whatever it is. I try to fill that role and see how I do. So I do that, and I work at a kind of like a Home Depot type Menards. It's called Menards. It's like the third largest home improvement chain in the U.S. So that's what I do. I work in the building department, or building materials. So I do that just a few nights a week or whatever during the day on weekends and every others, and so keep busy. So
good deal. It's good seeing you again, buddy. It's been a while. Apparently Edgar does not know whether or not he wants to stay on the show, but right as I said that, he popped in. So Ed, what is up with your connection here?
I don't know.
Okay, I gotta be fair and go down the line. I just wanted to give you crap. Mr. Russ Meadows out of Beaumont, Texas. Hook 'em horns, even if you don't like the horns.
I do.
By God, Dallas Cowboys, hook 'em horns. Texas Longhorns, you know what I meant.
I
Go ahead,
do.
Russ.
Yeah, Russ Meadows, Beaumont, Texas. Look me up on my name on Facebook, and also have a Facebook page, Rusty Nail Woodworks, and I've been scrolling for probably close to a year now.
Alrighty then. And no, never mind. I don't know if he wants me to reveal that on air because I just found out something today. That sounds really bad. Like, what are you hiding, Charlie?
Oh boy.
Can I tell him what I thought about you and the other Russ?
I don't care. Go ahead.
He's older than my co-host, and my co-host I thought was like 2 days older than Dirt, and he's older than Russ. The other Russ. Russ Clarity is 57, and this guy looks like he's about my age, my actual age, not how I act. Don't go there, folks. But in the interest of fairness, thank you, Russ. We have Chris Cute, and I'm not just saying that because he's a good-looking fella. It's his actual name. Chris, tell everybody about yourself. Now, before he talks, this guy used to be a broadcaster. You can hear it the second he talks. Go ahead, Chris. Now you're on the camera.
Well, thank you, Charles. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You can find me on Facebook under Make the First Cut, and you can find me on YouTube on Chris Cute Woodworking.
Okay. It would have sounded funny if I said, he's so cute, isn't he?
He's sweet.
He's so cute. Thank you. Mercy, we just lost 4 subscribers. I don't know why. We have nothing against gay woodworkers. Just
No.
never mind. Shut up, Charlie. God, dude, you just lost 8 subscribers.
You're going to get me in trouble, Charles.
You're going to get me in trouble, too. Well, no, my wife's sitting right here. This is my wife, Karen. She's the same one. Same
Hi,
one.
Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
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 Can we smooch on the air? Didn't think so. Okay. So, folks, we have fun with the show. Seriously, I don't know why people tolerate it, but maybe it's because they need therapy. But, yeah, that's my wife, Karen. She doesn't do social. Well, she's on social media, but I don't think anybody.
No one would
Unless
care.
we wanted to give her numbers for doctors to go see. I know this good divorce lawyer. You ought to go.
Now.
I can't believe nobody's cracking up. I'd be laughing if I was watching this crap. Nobody likes me. Anyway, I'm Charles Deering. Yeah, that's probably in your nightmares. And the Charles Deering on Facebook. Wooden Visions is my website. I sell scroll saw patterns on there, and these videos are usually put up there, but I'm not good at updating that. Sorry. What else? YouTube, I am Charles Deering Scroll. That's where you're most likely watching this after the Google Plus page. Who just joined in? Danny Ingebretson. Good time for an introduction, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I think you got wind blowing on your microphone, so it's actually kind of hard to hear you.
Hang on, let me kill that fan back there. Is that
Okay.
better?
Yes, sir. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay. Now I gotta kill the TV. There it is.
All right, we're going to kill everything around us and introduce ourselves.
It's one of those days.
I hear you. You want to tell everybody where they can find you and what your name is and all that?
My name's Dan Engebretson, and you can find me Dan Engie Wood, and that's both on Facebook and YouTube. I'm new at all this, but having fun learning.
Good deal. And the Engie is spelled E-N-G-E, folks, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Now, when I say I have an announcement, it doesn't always mean wonderful news. It depends on what y'all think so far of the show. We are considering, okay, being that the topics are starting to dry up, we will not ever do away with scroll sawing talk, but we're considering bringing other aspects of woodworking or types of woodworking into the show so we can keep it going because we are drying up on scroll sawing topics. But there again, we will always answer questions and or still occasionally talk about scrolling. So it'll still be called Scrolling with Charlie. No, I'm not having a seizure. I'm always this way. But after talking with Edgar Natras and Chris Cute earlier, we think it's a good idea. Chris Cute's actually the one that encouraged it the most. I've talked to other people about it in the past. Chris Cute, inspired me, and Edgar Natras is very knowledgeable in it as well. But anybody's still welcome to be on the panel to learn or to ask or to show off or look at this stick I built. Stick. Don't go there. I said stick. Good God. My wife was being goofy right along with me until we got on air, and now she's going to say, "Help me, people, please, 1-800." Pulled a sign up in the background, "Help me, hush, do the show." Good God. All right, so on that note, I don't know what the heck I was talking. This is scrolling with Charlie. That's why we're. Yeah, she's been putting up with me for a little over 3 years now. If you keep them just the right amount of drunk, they'll stay with you. If they can't walk, they can't leave, I tell you what. Wait, that's not a reference to disabilities. I need to shut up and move on. So, we've already introduced everybody, so I'm going to go down the line since we're delving into woodworking in general. Chris, what is your current
Project?
what is your current passion in woodworking, and where do you want it to lead? Or what do you want to learn?
Well, heck, I want to learn everything, Charles. I've got a good working knowledge of just about every kind of woodworking, I guess, except lathe work. But I'm kind of the guy who can do a lot of things, but I'm the master of none, but the jack of all trades. So I'm always looking to refine my skills that I have. So that's kind of where I'm working and what I'm looking to do. But as far as what I'm working on right now, I'm building a table for my brother. I've got the 2x4 challenge going on right now. I've got something working on that. And other than that, I really don't have any plans for the future.
Good deal. Well, the main challenge of the 2x4 challenge is what the heck you're going to make. I've known about it forever, and I don't have a clue what I'm making. But, excuse me. And for any of those that joined and saw me acting like a complete idiot, I do that because I just love to make people laugh, even if it's at me. 10-4, you're... excuse me. Okay. Dan, where does your passion lie the most when it comes to woodworking? I would assume scrolling, since you've been on the show before, but I could be wrong. And where do you want it to lead eventually?
Actually, for now, yes, it is. And I'm having a blast with it. But I want to learn everything. I've gotten all kinds of tools that were cheap or free and stuff, and I just picked up one of the little Harbor Freight lathes, which I've never used a lathe before, but I want to try my hand at that too. So
that's awesome. I'd love to try lathe work. My dad has a Shopsmith Mark V, one of the,
wow.
And he took really good care of it, and I'm looking forward to trying a lathe eventually, but I'm scared.
Mostly I've been doing a bunch of scrolling though.
10-4.
A little bit.
That's good. Okay, Edgar's not back yet, but he will be. John Schaffner, I'm guessing your passion is in scrolling, but I try not to assume. Otherwise, do you wish you could go another route along with scrolling, or?
Well, yeah, scrolling is probably my main focus. However, I do have a lathe. I do have, I got a relatively complete shop. I'm not afraid to do anything at this point, except for like maybe hand cut dovetails or something like that. But I mean, I build all kinds of stuff and lawn furniture and cabinet work and you name it, I'll do it. I don't care. But schooling is definitely my main focus. But been doing it for so long. It's woodworking in general. I've been doing since I was a kid. So the scrolling I've been doing for about 30 years. So that's definitely my main focus.
Good deal. That's great to hear. Mark, I will get to you next, but I realized I've already started off on a good roll. I was 12 minutes late starting the show because I wouldn't settle down, and I was trying to post links everywhere, and I just now remembered to open the Q&A, so I'm going to read those in order. It says, doesn't appear to have started yet. What do you mean, 0? See, they were responding to me talking. That was Jeffrey Super twice. And then we have Donna Presley like 3 times, so I'll get there. Sorry, y'all. I just remembered to open the Q&A. Jeffrey Super also says nothing yet on YouTube either. I was on a roll, I'm telling you. Tell people on Facebook to reload to see, is what Donna Presley said. Reloading, we start yet? And yes, we finally started, Donna. Thank you. Donna also said, if you want to try lathe woodcraft has a class. If you want to try lathe, woodcraft has a class to make a pen to give you an idea if you want to do that, since startup is more expensive than scroll saw. This is most definitely true. DWSSR, I believe his name is Dan as well. Please tell me I'm right. He says, I got a new email from Charlie, some new thing. What is it about? I didn't know I had said anything new until just moments ago.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Dan, you got me concerned now because I don't even know what you're talking about. And Wigwag Workshop, which I believe his name is Steven, hopefully I'm right, says Menards is the best. I use it to shop at their first. I used to shop at their first store back when there was only one store. They always had a big old drum of pretzels where you could grab a handful and munch on while you shop.
Excellent.
Wish we would do that with M&M's, but I'm just saying. And Dr. Pepper, by God. Anyway, and DWSSR, too, I believe his name is Dan, once again, says, I finally made it. Always have a hard time. Hi, everybody. Howdy. Donna Presley says, Jeffrey, reload. It works for me. That's all the stuff in the Q&A. So, Mark Sherman, do you want to babble while I clear out the Q&A?
I'm not very good at babbling.
Okay.
I guess I'm good at drooling, but I guess my passion is scroll saw, of course. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't my passion. I love to be out there when I can be out there, but if there was anything that I really like to get into again I guess it would be lathe work. One of the coworkers that I do work with at Menards, he does pin turning, and I'm ordering one from him. So his stuff is pretty cool, and I'm not interested in the big stuff, the big bowls and pots and whatever else, but the small, mini lathe would do me fine, and get into pin turning looks pretty cool. So it looks like it could be profitable. I guess do a little bit more work on my bandsaw other than just resawing. So like bandsaw boxes and whatnot. But bless you, that was a quiet sneeze. So yeah, that's probably what I like to get into. And besides keeping up with the scroll saw work and having the time to get out there and prep for the holiday stuff coming up in 6 months or whatever, at least get a good inventory under in the boxes. So that's about it.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the bless you. I'm sneezing a lot, and it most definitely was not a quiet sneeze. But I appreciate that. I just thank God I found the mute button in time. Edgar, I believe I haven't gotten to you yet. Also, I have to get to Russ Meadows, but you do all kinds of woodworking, so where would you say your passion lies when it comes to woodworking, tool-wise, and then where do you see yourself wanting to get with your woodworking? And what tools?
My actual goal is just to rebuild my shop. I had lost my shop a long time ago, and as far as tools go, I'm still missing 3 of the basics. All I have right now is just my table saw and my chop saw. I also have a little benchtop joiner, but I just got that locally, $25. So that's helping me out in the shop. But as far as where I want to take it, it's I just want to get back into cabinets and heirloom furniture.
Good deal. There again, folks. He's been woodworking a long time. We've been talking for a long time. So I look forward to seeing all this stuff progress in the video world, Edgar. And we just lost John Schaffner. Usually we lose viewers, not panel members. Russ Meadows, what is your passion regarding tools? I would assume scrolling, because that's how we met, but if not, blah, 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 you can answer that. And where do you see, what would you just love to go towards when it comes to tools and whatever?
Well, I've done a lot of things besides scrolling. I built my shops. I had a 20 by 20 concrete pad out in the backyard, and I built a 8 by 14 shop out there, and then that got took over by my wife, so I built me an 8 by 20 shop. And I didn't originally start that with the intent of woodworking. I had no clue on the woodworking at that time when I built it, but I've since gotten into the woodworking. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've done Adirondack chairs and other things, but I've got into the woodworking now, and that's where I really like that a lot. And I'll probably stick with that.
Already, I was trying to talk and I was muted. No offense to anybody, I just muted. I was just getting background noise and I had to make sure it wasn't me. Excuse my snipping and sniffling. I got the camera on Russ. Okay, I'm dealing with allergies here, or something. Paul Keane in the queue. Thank you for that, by the way, Russ. Have I gotten everybody on the panel on that question? Yes, I believe I did. Okay. Paul Keane says, in the idea of promoting discussion or ideas, perhaps panel members could comment on which tool in their shop, other than perhaps their scroll saw, is used the most. Also, do you all use Craig jig for joining wood together, or do you use dovetails, dowels, and I would guess more to sing and this and that, and I will ask that next as soon as I get done reading the Q&A. Wigwag Workshop says, waiting for the Scrolling with Charlie episode where you don't have to say Steven, I believe is his name. Just having been fun with you. Yeah, thank you, Steve. Gary Griffith has joined us, so I'll get to him as soon as the Q&A is done, and then we'll go into that topic that was asked about. Steven says, my passion is making stuff for me, lady, or my lady, however you want to say it, and items for the homestead. I also do all types of woodworking. Good to hear, Steve. So that's one viewer we get to keep if we move towards just woodworking.
Yay.
He says, I am Dan, DWSSR, so I'm remembering 2 names in the same day. That's good. What was your name again? Sorry. I'm going to get slapped later, or on the air. The email was something about professional network on LinkedIn. Dan, that was me attempting to get into all forms of social media and not knowing well how to do it. So that was an automatic generated thing. So I apologize for that, but it wasn't any kind of new announcement. It was an automatic spam thingy. Donna Presley says, bandsaw question. I'm about to sneeze. She didn't say that, I did. Bandsaw question. I had to get a new cog for the blade guidepost. That might be a misspelling. I don't know. It might be part of the bandsaw. I have no clue. But okay, let me start from the beginning. Excuse my snip. Bandsaw question. I had to get a new cog for the blade guidepost, and put it back together. But now the guidepost is loose and can't figure out how to tighten it, so it doesn't move left to right a little bit. Anyone got a suggestion? I'll let you unmute yourself and start talking if you know what they're actually talking about. I probably mispronounced or read a typo when it said COG. Anybody know what a cog is?
Well, I think it depends on what she's talking about. If she's talking about the the guard that comes down that has the cool blocks or the ball bearings on it, that rises and lowers. And if she had to replace the cog that's up at the top of the bandsaw, then other than that, I don't know. And if she's got a problem with it rocking back and forth the way she's talking about, then I think she bought the wrong size for her bandsaw.
Really, thank you, Chris. I'll take his word for it, because he apparently knew what a cog was, so he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. That sounded bad, Chris. I don't doubt your ability.
No, Charles, that's okay. That's okay. But as you ask that question, I'm looking at my bandsaw and going, what could she be talking about? And that has to be what she's talking about. She must have bought the gear that rises and lowers the protection for the bandsaw. And if she bought a new gear and replaced the old one with it, then the one she bought is probably smaller than the one that originally came with the saw. And that's why she's getting that rocking back and forth in the arm now. That's all I'm saying. That's a guess.
Yeah, she's saying here, yes, that's it. It's inside that lowers and raises. Thank you. To me, cog sounds like caveman talk. Cog. Sorry,
Charles.
I always look back at my wife for support. Yes, Gary, how you doing? You might want to introduce yourself after you're done saying whatever you're gonna say.
Yeah, what I think it was Chris was talking about the gear. It's if your post is up and down, it's got a series of teeth that's bolted. Should be either bolted or mounted inside, and it's going to have another wheel on the other side that turns and runs your post up and down.
Okay.
And it's probably that main round gear. She could take her old cog gear and count the teeth on it, and then count the teeth on her new one and see if the teeth match up. If they're one or two teeth off, even just one tooth off will make a big difference on if that post is going to fit snug, or if that smaller gear is going to cause that post to move back and forth like she's talking about. So my recommendation would be to count the teeth on each of those wheels to see what number they are.
10-4. I'll read her response and then I'll let you introduce yourself. She says, yes, the gear inside the guide lever, it is the right size. So there's her response to that. To y'all three guys.
They should make sure that she's got all the pieces back in. There could be spacers or guideposts in that guidepost that keep that post square and tight in there. To make sure that everything's back in exactly like it come apart.
No, but I agree with Gary. I mean, she needs to count the teeth on the original gear and compare it to the one she's got now. And if the teeth are even off by one, it will make that thing rock back and forth. He's absolutely right.
10-4. Sounds like between the two of them, Donna, they probably got it. Gary, you want to go ahead and thank y'all guys. Gary, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell people where to stalk you?
Sure. I'm Gary. You can find me on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. I got a couple videos on there, but haven't gotten into making videos. I'm in Central Oklahoma in another bout with severe storms again tonight. Moving in, they're about 2 hours southwest of me, so hopefully they're going to miss me, but I've been scrolling a couple of years.
10-4, much obliged. Donna says it's the bottom of the guide that is loose, and Stephen Wigwag Workshop says the Jetson Cogswell Cogs was a competitor to Spacely Sprockets already. Thank you for that information. And she said, okay, thank you. I think I got 2 extra washers, 1 done.
That would make a difference. Can she post the make and model of the bandsaw and see if we can find a diagram for it and see if that would help her out too?
Already, I'm laughing because it's one of those stereotypical things that when somebody takes something apart and they put it back together, they got parts left over. Apparently, that's not important. So yeah. Something as simple as 2 washers can mess up your cog, and that sounds serious.
It's as bad as it sounds.
Okay, the question, I'm going to remind everyone what the question from Paul Keene was after I get you on. Thank you. That's why I need a co-host. So I was going to make my wife yawn too. Okay. In the idea of promoting discussion or ideas, perhaps panel members could comment on which tool in their shop, other than perhaps their scroll saw, is used the most. Also, do you all use the Craig jig for joining wood together, or do you use dovetails, dowels, etc.? Let's start with Chris.
I use all manners. I'll be honest with you. I've cut so many darn dovetails. I don't ever care if I cut another one. So unless I have to, I'm not going to. So the Craig jig has its place in the shop. It's not. I wouldn't use it for everything that you make. But I don't use it for nice things. I make it for like shop jigs and furniture that my wife and I might use upstairs. And if I'm going to use it underneath the tabletop, I'll use a pocket hole jig of that nature. But other than that, I use mortise and tenon joinery most of the time is what I do. It's and as far as dovetails go, it's a talent and people should learn it. Should know how to do it because it'll teach you how to do other things just by knowing that. But is it something that you should do all the time? No, I don't think so. This is my personal opinion, but no. It doesn't make you a finer woodworker by doing it all the time. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, okay, let me touch you because you're so special. You know how to do it. If you can't, I can cut a I can cut a dovetail. And if you can't, then you should learn how. But after you learn how, then move on to other things and only use it when you need it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you're right. No, it's just joinery is you use the joint that's needed for the project you're building. It doesn't have to be a single thing.
10-4, yeah, there are different methods, and I guess it would be the comfort level of everybody involved. I'm going to read two things from the Q&A, but then we got to go back to your passionate. What did he say? Perhaps they could comment on which tool in their shop, other than their scroll saw, is used the most. Jeffrey Super says, just my opinion, but Charles may be a bit like George Jetson. I take offense to that. I'm kidding, Jeff, but you're probably right. I'm stuck on this conveyor belt of life. Donna Presley says she thinks the model number and everything is Jet SW100. And Chris, if you have a comment regarding that, feel free to say it, but also mention the tool you use the most, even if it's not your favorite. You're muted.
Yeah, I know. And I'm sorry I'm not familiar with the Jet bandsaw, so I can't give for particulars on that. As far as the tool I use the most, it's my table saw. But it is probably my least favorite tool because it's probably the crappiest tool I own. I need to get a new one. But yeah, I think with most people that do general woodworking, as I do, I think the most commonly used tool that they use is probably the table saw. And after that would come the bandsaw, and then maybe the miter saw, and then and from there it's a drill press and all the way down the line. But my go-to tool when I want to do something is my table saw.
10-4. If I had to pick the crappiest tool I have, it would probably be my table saw too. It's not necessarily crappy. I guess I'm a whiny kid and I want one that's better. But Dan Engelbretson, what is your go-to tool in the? I want to make sure I get the wording correct. Is why I keep going back to what he said. What is used the most in your shop, and have you ever used a Craig jig for joinery, or do you prefer dovetails and dowels and stuff?
Besides the scroll, it'd have to be the table saw and the vacuum cleaner, of course. But yeah, I've got Craig jig here. I've recently put together a big old kitchen stand for my wife because the one we had collapsed, and it holds a lot of weight on it too, and it's sturdy. It's an easy way to go, but I've also pegged stuff too. So
good deal. Were you gonna say something else?
The crappiest tool I got in here is probably this old drill press that somebody gave to me about 10 years ago.
That's probably a good thing to add going down the line is what's your crappiest tool. But Edgar, I know you already. Thank you, Dan. I know you already said you had limited tools right now, but what tool do you use the most, and do you use Craig joinery, or do you prefer dovetails, dowels, and this and that?
Yeah, my most used tool in my shop is the table saw. It's every project pretty much starts with that. I also have a skill saw with one of those homemade track jigs on them, and that's actually probably one I grabbed first to make the plywood or whatever down to bite-sized pieces. As far as Craig jig, I've been using the Craig style jig for years. My first real paycheck job back in ¡85 was a cabinet shop, and they were used even before that for face frames. And as far as dovetails go, the only time I work on dovetails is when I'm rebuilding furniture, older furniture that have dovetails in the drawers and such.
10-4. If you see, just for anybody that is watching or anybody on the panel, if y'all happen to see me and her looking at each other giggling and stuff, it's because she's
messing with him.
Yeah, when I'm hovering over an icon preparing to mute myself or sneezing or whatever, she's pushing my hand around, and it's, just fun little lovey-dovey stuff. I just want to explain, if you saw me smiling or giggling while you were talking, Edgar, we weren't making fun of you. She's just being lovely to me. But thank you for answering that. And you answered regarding the dovetails, dowels, and/or Craig jig?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you were paying attention.
I must have been fighting off my wife at that point, but I appreciate it, Edgar. I'm terribly sorry for not paying full attention, but I did hear you about
I'm a big boy. I can take it.
It's okay. Gary just wrote to me as he disappeared, so I don't know what he was saying. Babe, can you read this while I go on to the next person?
You betcha.
It was Gary Griffiths who just dropped out of the thing. Steve says, Wigwag Workshop says, my favorite tool and the ones I use the most is my arsenal of sanders. They make fast work of cutting mistakes. I am blessed. That's at the start of the year. I no longer have crappy tools. I don't have the Craig jig, but I have a homemade one. Okay, I'll take all your old tools, Steve. Just saying. Thank you for that. What did Gary Griffiths have to say?
Had an auto restart.
Mother ding ding. Sorry for my foul language, folks.
Yes.
John Schaffner, what tool do you use the most, and do you have a Craig jig, or do you use dovetails and dowels and stuff?
Well, gotta say my favorite tool is actually my planer. I start, unless I'm using plywood or some kind of sheet goods or something, I always start with my planer, because I always buy rough cut and do it myself and get it to whatever dimension I need it to. So my planer gets a lot of use. Other than that, probably my table saw, would be my second. My least used tool is one that I bought, I think 4 years ago, used, and I bought a mortiser, and I have yet to use it.
so it's in pretty good condition, then, huh?
any mortises that I do, I've always, hand cut them, and it's just as quick as setting that damn thing up. So, but when it comes to joinery, I do have a Craig jig. I do use my Craig jig, but I also have a dovetail jig that I occasionally use, and of course mortise and tenons, and I mean, there's so many different ways to do joints that, Craig jig is really handy though, for quick and dirty.
Thank you, sir. I've never tried mortise and tenon, but I think it'd be fun to try it. But of course, a lot of it be trial and error, I think. But I've seen it done with table saws and chisels. So I guess I'm not much of a hand tool guy, but maybe I'm spoiled. I don't know. But Russ Meadows, what tool do you use the most? And do you use a Craig jig or dovetails, dowels, and this and that?
No, I haven't done anything that I needed to use that kind of stuff with yet. What I've done, it's been mostly done on the miter saw and table saw, things like that, other than my scrolling work. And that's kind of where I like to keep it.
10-4. My wife and I are smiling because Jeffrey Super in the Q&A it says, John, you look different right side up. No, not Jeffrey Super. Alan Carter says.
Well, I hope that's a good thing.
I hope it is too. If not, you have his name. Thank you, Alan. E-Cabinets Tips and Tricks is Scott Marshburn. He says, chop saw by far. I use it to chop up all of the crap that I screw up. That's funny. My go-to tool is obviously the scroll saw. Second in line, I guess, would be the table saw. If I can get the stupid fence squared up. Measure 3 times, cut once. My crappiest tool. I'm looking at my wife as if she's in there knowing what my crappiest tool is. Don't go there. I just realized the potential answer. Okay, we're going to move on. My crappiest tool. Come on, guys. Come on. Okay, fine. Boy, you got a tough audience on this panel here.
I know. Well, they're all muted. How could you know?
Well, that or maybe their I
you.
think their thumbnails are frozen, and that's why I can't see them turning purple with laughter and taking their meds or something. Paul Keene in the Q&A. We have 18 viewers. Thank y'all for watching, by the way. Paul Keene says not to hog the. Well, it's okay, Paul. I mean, there's no take a number thing when it comes to the Q&A. Do whatever you want. Anyway, it says not to hog the limelight with questions. But I guess my next question would be, are you about to sneeze? That isn't what he asked, but I'm about to sneeze. Say something, babe.
I'll finish reading. How do you keep yourself motivated to continuously go out to your shop and start or continue with a project? Seems most of you live in a cold, wet climate. I'm here in Southern California.
I didn't hear any of that, was it? Did y'all?
It was about motivation to keep doing your project.
Okay.
Cattle prod for Charlie.
Oh.
Well.
How rude.
I'm sorry I had to give away your secrets.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. Chris, I'll let you answer since you were paying attention more than I was.
That's fine. Motivation in my shop is based on need. And so a lot of what I do and what I make is based on what I need. And, you know, I always need something. And so I don't have a problem coming up with motivation to go out in the shop and make something. But, you know, as far as being in a cold climate, yes, I am. I'm in Connecticut, and it gets pretty darn cold up here. And in the winter, you know what? I shut my shop down for 2 months this past year, and I was itching to get back out here and get out and do something just because it was too darn cold to get out in the shop and work. It was, you know, it was below freezing out here. But motivation is not a hard problem. That comes from within, I guess. It's just not a hard problem for me to, you know, get out in the shop and do something. Because if I get the opportunity to get out in the shop, I'm going to go out and do it. You know, I work towards that time. I look forward. That's my playtime.
I could all, on a serious note, I could see where it could be dangerous, and this is probably a big dud, everybody. But if I've been cold enough in the shop that I couldn't feel my fingers, and that can be dangerous.
Oh yeah.
What just flew by? Oh, that was my finger. Sorry, that was, yeah. Thank you, Chris. Dan, all that stuff she read. What keeps you motivated and what kind of climate are you in?
Oh, I get bored easy, so I got to come out and do something.
That's me.
I can't sit in the house. I just never have been able to. And today it's 79 degrees. I'm there in Sacramento, California. So
wow. And
gorgeous out here.
Yeah, the person who asked that is in Southern California.
Yeah. A couple days ago, it was pouring buckets here, and the street was almost flooded out. Yeah. Kind of strange weather.
Yeah, it's been raining almost daily here in Gageville, Texas, which is halfway between Dallas and Austin. So yeah, that limits outdoor things anyway. I've had stuff in my truck under a tarp for 2 or 3 days now due to the rain. So that's why my shop isn't any further along. Mr. Edgar Netris, what keeps you motivated? And I believe you've had a lot of rain here lately.
Yeah, the whole past week has been just nasty weather. Even though I live in Nevada, it's, you know, people think it's like bright and sunny all the time, but it's not. Northern Nevada, I'm only 36 miles east of Reno, so it's kind of like on the edge of the Great Basin, if you know anything about that. And as far as motivation, not to take anything away from you guys that do it as a hobby, the motivation for me is that paycheck, because I do this for a living. So that's what keeps me going. It's like, if the weather's good enough for me to get out and roll out the shop, then I'm making money.
Yep, you got to eat, by golly.
Got to eat.
Well, that, and I know for firsthand that you've made things for family, and there's a passion behind that, and but I think that went into the topic we were discussing on the midday show about not wanting to get rid of, or this may not have been on the show, but it was after you and Chris were talking about not wanting to get rid of a project you're done with. But
well, for me, it wasn't getting rid of the project I was done with. It was me wanting to put more into the project because of who it was for.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I just had to stop myself before I, overbuilt it or overthought the design or whatever. So, so I have to pull myself back on some of those. And then after that, it's like, man, I'm finished. Now I got to give it away.
Heck, nabbit. I appreciate that, Ed. I'm going to go to the Q&R, and then I'll go get back in line to John Schaffner. And Dan says, I got into buying old vintage woodworking machinery. That sounds interesting, especially if you know how to work on it and make it work again. Steve from Wigwag Workshop says, I have a lot of hobbies that are similar and never have trouble with motivation. It's my relaxing time. I'm blessed for that my shops are climate controlled. Mine aren't climate controlled, but I don't, in the interest of answering the question, it's therapeutic for me, and it keeps you from getting tired of me. Unless that's what's making you get tired of me. I love you. Thank you for that, Steve, and Dan. About to sneeze again. John Schaffner, what keeps you motivated, and what's the climate like where you are? It's usually pretty cold up there, isn't it?
Yeah. It gets a whole lot colder here than it does in Connecticut. I'll put it that way. During the winter time, I just don't even want to go out there. I mean, it takes too dang on long to fire up the wood stove, and by the time it gets going, it's time to come in for lunch, and then I don't want to go out afterwards. But the therapy, getting back to what inspires me to go out there is, like you just mentioned, therapy. Life has a way of, really messing up sometimes, and you just got to get out and do something and get your mind off whatever's going on in your life. And that's what does it for me. I mean, you get involved in, like, especially sitting at the scroll saw, you get involved with that, and the rest of the world just disappears. And that feels pretty darn good at the end of the day.
Well, that's good. Make sure, I thought I was muted for trying to sneeze. Donald Woodford just joined us, and Gary Griffiths just joined us. He had an auto restart on his computer. Comes at the dangest times. Gary, I will ask you the question as soon as I catch up in the Q&A. Alan Carter says, Charlie, when using spiral blades, is there anything you have to do to the ends of the blades before you use them, like straighten them out? I have heard that you have to do that to some of the spiral blades. Yes, even the flat-ended ones, if they don't line up right with the clamps, because at least in my clamping system, they have to both be facing the same direction on either end. So sometimes I use the needle nose pliers and regular pliers and untwist them slightly. Even though they're flat-ended, they are, for the most part, flat-ended. They're just not facing the right direction for the clamp. And you might be thinking, well, don't turn it. Yes, I could turn it, but that would make the other one. If they're not lined up the same, then you got to twist one of them. Thank you for that, Alan. And before I forget what the question was, I'm going to go over to Gary Griffiths. What keeps you motivated, and what's the climate like where you are? You're in Oklahoma, so it's probably pretty windy and wet. I don't hear you, Gary, but you're not muted.
No, you should be.
Yeah.
The climate here at Oklahoma, we always have a saying: if you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, wait 5 minutes. It'll change for you. But the humidity here, there can be some days you can have some pretty high humidity. What keeps me going in just about anything is being able to see the finished product or seeing what I'm building come along, and so it makes me want to keep at it longer and longer, just so I can see that finished piece that I'm working on is what keeps me going.
All right, that makes sense. My wife was talking to me regarding the YouTube. Did Jose Rodriguez ask anything, or just...
No, he made a comment that's not worth repeating.
Well.
Wait.
All right, Jose.
Keep going.
All right. Is that how it is, Holmes? Okay. Sorry, folks. I already went to John Schaffner, so next is, let me see if Mark Sherman's back. Nope, still on a phone call. Russ Meadows, what keeps you motivated, and what's the weather like where you are? Sorry. You're muted. You're muted. I can't hear you. Oh, there you go.
I'm not muted. I don't have any problem staying. Well, I like what I'm doing. I come home from work and I change clothes, go out in the shop and work. And I'm a mailman, and on my route, there was a fella that was a woodworker, and he told me first time I ever met him that was his therapy. That's the first time I'd ever heard that term, and I thought, well, this guy must be nuts. And so another fellow on my route told me the same thing, and then I thought, well, there must be something to it. He might not be nuts after all. And so now I get in there and stay in there for hours, and now I kind of understand where they were coming from. I just enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. And usually I'm wanting to put new things on, and when I'm getting through with one project, and somebody else pipes in and asks me for another I can't put new things on because somebody's always asking me for another project. I said, well, okay, I'm making money with it. So that's good. I have no problem with motivation.
Good deal. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I think any woodworker of any level can tell you how therapeutic it is. And yeah, if nobody's ever done it, they can't understand how doing something that precise. But once you've been doing it a while, I mean, you still have your safety mechanisms. You do, but the therapeutic value, whether mental or physical, I would say mental therapy for 99% of people is my motivation, and God knows I need therapy. Donna Presley says, I use an old silver spoon to make some necklaces on the scroll saw. Cool. That's pretty unique. And that's also because eCabinets Tips and Tricks Scott Marshburn said, has anyone ever scrolled with metal? And I know you can do paper thin metal. I haven't tried ever thick metal other than coins I've heard about. Has anybody on the panel ever scrolled metal?
I haven't yet, but I've heard some using thin sheets of copper or brass because it's a soft, easy metal to cut. And I have seen a lot of people use coins like quarters of stuff and cut stuff out of them.
Yeah, I can't even imagine cutting through a coin, but I've seen it done too. When using that real paper thin metal, put it between two pieces of wood, and it will ripple up. Okay, Donald Woodford just put something in the chat section, so I'm gonna run over there. Donald Woodford says, as Russ, it's therapy and relaxing. Sunny and hot here in Florida. I keep looking for new projects to keep it interesting and challenging. Thank you very much, Donald. Appreciate that. Donald does not have a mic or a cam. That's why I'm reading from the chat section. Alan Carter says, I am a letter carrier also, Russ, and it is great therapy. So there's y'all's bond right there. We got to witness it. Yay. Okay. Thank you. Now, Paul, there's no such thing as hogging the limelight. I mean, you're the one that's kept this show going so far because I didn't have topics for crap. We've actually gone 6 minutes over. Not technically, because I was 12 minutes late, so we technically got to go to 6 more minutes before we've hit an hour. But does anybody on the panel have a comment, question, or tip, or anything they want to bring up regarding anything except for my therapy? Okay, yes, Russ. That's where I was going. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes the thumbnails will freeze up, and it's hard to tell who. That's why I wait for it to unmute and somebody say something, and I go to them. But go ahead.
It was concerning the scrolling with metal question a while back. There's a gentleman that lives on my route that he does the same kind of things that we do with wood. He does it with metal, and instead of painting the metal and stuff like that, he uses the torch and heats it up. His wife does the actual torching of it and heats it up and changes the colors of the metal just by using heat. And I've seen some of his work, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't believe you can heat that and you can make it turn blue, red, whatever color you want, and it stays like that. It's awesome. I don't know how he does it.
I don't either, but yeah, I've seen some beautiful 3-4 tone things based on heat. I don't know anything about it, so I won't pretend to. But Steve Wigwag Workshop says I think Steve Good has a tutorial on cutting the quarters. If not, you can probably find it on YouTube for anybody that's interested. I'm getting ready to sneeze again. Does anybody on the panel have a comment, question, suggestion? Oh, God, I need something to get somebody talking while I blow my nose. Edgar, you want to say something woodworking related?
Yeah, there's a guy on here. He makes clocks, and it's called ClickSpring, if I'm pronouncing it right. And he does a lot of his big gears and even his smaller gears and some of his actual tools that he's made. He cuts on a scroll saw, so you can check that out and see how he does that. I like the channel. It's on YouTube, ClickSpring. Check it out.
There's also Mateus Wendell, I think his name is. He has a program I think he invented or made up that's a gear calculator that he makes up that calculates wooden gears to certain sizes. That could probably be used too on stuff.
And poor good timing. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I just sneezed my butt off 3 or 4 times. That was very therapeutic. Speaking of therapy, E-Cabinets, Tips and Tricks, Scott Marshburn, and Russ, you might get a kick out of this, says, so I guess that woodworking keeps you guys from going postal. Get it?
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I kind of thought you might. That's probably not the first time you've ever heard that term.
No, it ain't.
Well, that's hilarious. I'm still laughing. Thank you. No, boy, yeah, it takes one bad guy in the post office to make it go bad for all the postal workers. Well, more than one, but okay, we're at hour and 40 minutes. So by God, not an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and 9 minutes. I'm not all there, but folks, I apologize for my sniffing, sneezing, and believe it or not, such a large panel can make the show seem like not a lot got done, but when the Q&A is active, then that gives us something to talk about. And that being said, for anybody that didn't catch it at the beginning of the show, if I can control it, the show will never end, but it may not always be only scroll sawing. We will eventually, somebody's peeking around your head there, Russ. Yep. And I have the camera on, Russ, sorry. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, the show may not always be about scrolling from here on out, only because we're drying up on topics, but it does not mean we will give it up. We will always answer anything, suggestions, comments, questions regarding scrolling, but we may start leaning into woodworking in general and different aspects of that, and tools and this and that. But I don't want to copy Summers Woodworking or Maritime Woodworkers and have a spotlighted person every week. I may occasionally have a guy in the limelight or spotlight, so to speak. But
a special guest.
Yeah, special guest. She keeps me in line. She knows what I mean, unfortunately. So I hope that doesn't run any viewers off, because I'm not a beginner woodworker, but I'm definitely not a seasoned one, because my passion is in scroll sawing, so that's really all I've concentrated on, getting my skills set. So I will be learning things as we go into other tools and things as well, but I hope that the faithful viewers we've had will continue to watch it. I'm not saying we're done, just saying the scrolling specific portion, I believe, has come to an end, but is still included. So I hope y'all will join us. And Paul Keene in the Q&A says, great show, guys. Thanks for all the input, and thank you for all the input as well, Paul. Alan Carter says, yep. So I guess that was in relation to our comments on postal and heard that before thing. Wigwag Workshop Steven says, I will be here no matter the format. Thank you very much, Steve. Stuff like that makes me feel good, and I hope the rest of y'all will. Thank you for the 18 viewers and the more we had earlier until I started snoozing a lot. Thank everybody on the panel. We had Chris Cute, Dan Engelbretson, Donald Woodford, Edgar Natras, Gary Griffiths, John Schaffner, Russ Meadows, and Charles Deering, and Karen Deering, my beautiful wife. Thank you for your assistance, even though the only comment we had on YouTube was inappropriate. Well, as soon as we go up here, I'll find out what it was. Wigwag Workshop Steve says, how about sanding with Charlie? Yeah, nobody likes sanding, so they wouldn't like the show. But thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everybody, for watching. But I'm going to let my wife say it this time, but you got to do the pose just right. If you got to remember it, it's right there on that sign right behind you, right? So wait till I say 3, 2, 1.
Scroll on.